all of these $20 rentals are starting to make me want to pull my hair out, and I just don't know how I feel about it yet. Still something I'm getting used to, but also not trying to get used to at the same time. But for this film, I did pay the $20. Directed by Tim Hill, we are here tonight to talk about the new SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. New animation, new SpongeBob adventure, basically all the things that you would expect to see in a new SpongeBob film. A better one, though, by all means necessary, of Sponge Out of Water. I did not like that movie whatsoever. This one was at least bearable throughout the entire thing, and reminds us of why we love SpongeBob so much, just in a new modern age of SpongeBob, and I think the show is still continuing as well. And of course, they did do an amazing job of dedicating this film to Steven Hillenburg, who is an absolute legend, and definitely deserves all the praise for obviously creating the show and these characters. But we get to kind of see them in a new light. The only thing here is that it's all the same setup. That's probably this film's greatest fault, is that we do get to see the average day of SpongeBob again in his home life and his work life. And you think that that would be a great thing, but this is that boundary where, is nostalgia always good, or is nostalgia kind of just there as a selling point for the film? And it kind of goes back and forth for me specifically, but sadly a little bit more towards the nostalgia being there as a selling point. But again, I did not hate this movie whatsoever. I do think it is extremely watchable, not just for the target audience that it is going for, but for any fan of SpongeBob in general. Now, there is another plan that Plankton has to try and grab the Krabby Patty formula from Mr. Krabs. All of our same characters are back, but some familiar faces get some taking used to because of their new look, especially Poseidon in particular. And what's weird about this film, and I think a lot of people are having the same issues with, is that some of the plots that we get in this film are rehashed or reused from earlier episodes or earlier films even. And that is because of the situation that they get themselves into by having to travel to another city like Shell City in the first film. This one is more of Atlantic City that they are going to. But the thing is, it's almost as if we're asked to forget about those and to rehave those first-time experiences with the older films and the older characters, and kind of see them in a new light because it's a new age of SpongeBob. And I just found that really weird, and it was almost as if they had never seen some of these characters before, Poseidon specifically, even though they know about him and his kingdom, clearly, because they do talk about it like it's common knowledge. And it was just weird to see that we were supposed to kind of forget that there's this earlier version of SpongeBob just out there, because there's this new version of SpongeBob coming. But it does try to also mix those two together, so it was just this weird blend of animation and story that we are very used to, but also kind of just using to tell a new story. We do get to see other locations around Bikini Bottom, and we don't stay in Bikini Bottom throughout the entire film. We kind of go back to it a little bit at times, but again, we kind of move away from the comfortable living area of Bikini Bottom as we did in the first film, and we go on this adventure that needs to happen in order to save Gary, who does get taken at the start of the film, and that's in the trailer, so it's no spoiler whatsoever, but he gets taken, and that's the whole goal of this mission. But the thing is, it's not really just SpongeBob and Patrick who are on the run, but it's the entire gang of the people that we know and love of these cartoons. And so we are also following them on this run, and it's almost as if they have their own agenda too. So it's all of Bikini Bottom pretty much on the run rather than just SpongeBob and Patrick. And I can see some people kind of not being okay with just all of Bikini Bottom being forgotten, even though we are kind of moving the plot forward ourselves, meaning SpongeBob and Patrick are, for their benefit, leaving Bikini Bottom behind. We don't want to leave Bikini Bottom behind. We want to also remember what that life of comfortable living is like for these characters, even with this new conflict. Some of the negatives is that this film does try to be really, really modern, and it's definitely shown through the cameos that appear in this film that normal characters do make cameos, like real life characters make cameos in other films that you would expect, but you wouldn't expect them to be in here. But then if you think about it, you'd be like, no, they actually pretty much fit the part. And I feel like the film does try to give new chances and take risks with the new audiences of SpongeBob who may have not seen all of the earlier seasons or just the movies, and now they're on to the third one. But they kind of forget about the crowd that loves SpongeBob, and I think they do forget about the older crowd that also loves SpongeBob and still might not want to put up with all of this more childish kind of segue into modern reality of today, into Bikini Bottom, into the Atlantic City, things like that. Another huge complaint that I had to myself personally was the fact that this film is just not as interesting as the others. As I mentioned, they do kind of use an excuse of some older episodes as a new opportunity again to feel like it's the first time watching it. And that kind of gets proven by the fact that they keep cutting back to this flashback of how they all met. And it does become important later on in the story. I won't say why, but it just doesn't feel so believable that that's how they met. And the message is all there, don't get me wrong, I loved that. And at the end of the day, this film is to just remind us as to why we love SpongeBob so much. Despite the new animation or some of the characters that don't get enough screen time or aren't even really in the film at all, which I was kind of sad about and wanting them to be, it's just to remind us that SpongeBob will continue and will be there to support the fans who have been there since the beginning, all the way back when the show first started. And I do love that a lot. So as a reminder, the nostalgia worked there. As far as story and actual plot of the film goes, it's the second weakest for sure in the trilogy as of now, the first film being the best, second being the worst, and then the third being right in the middle between the two. And honestly, kind of not getting me excited for the fourth, if there is one, seeing as how the animation is going to go from here. And there is an end credit short as well, so you should stay for that too. But it just kind of doesn't give me hope that any more SpongeBob movies are going to be like they used to, even though that this message of SpongeBob will always be around. Not so sure if that's a good thing anymore. I do think, again, that this is going to be a pretty divisive film, which there have been some really divisive films already this year, especially with a couple of films that came out this weekend, including Chaos Walking, which I am going to get to on this channel hopefully pretty soon. I've already been seeing some reviews out there for the movie, but haven't gotten around to it yet. That being said, we're here to talk about SpongeBob still, so I am now going to give my rating. I do think people are going to either like it or not like it, and that's all down to the story. We know we love the characters, we know we love the world, and any of the lore that they may be conjuring up right now for further advances within these characters that we've come to love so much over the years. But I think from now on it's going to be either a hit or miss, and that's just it. There's no controversy. It's just all ifs, ands, or buts. And so that being said, I'm going to give, on Letterboxd, I gave the score a 2.5 out of 5, and for my score out of 100%, I am going to be giving it a 48% out of 100. Now again, I would rewatch this movie, I would own it. In the end, though, this is a disappointing film, and so that's why the rating is so low for it. But it doesn't mean that I hate the film indefinitely, and my score is actually a lot higher than I thought it was going to be compared to reviews and to what other people have said and their experiences with the film as well. But everybody's different, and everybody has their own opinion, which is why we talk about movies, and which is why movies are so popular to talk about, because we all love them or hate them. Me, I love a lot more than I think I hate them. So being a film major and seeing movies for as long as I can remember. So I will gladly love to see any more future SpongeBob movies. But again, it's going to be either, I think, a hit or miss for me. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next video.